I love recording 20 minutes of audio and not realizing until afterwards that your mic was turned off the entire time. It's so fun, dude. You should try it. What's up? I'm Sukyojin, aka Suko, as some of you know me as, and I'm the author and artist of the Blood White webcomic series, as well as the Blood White one shot, as well as some other upcoming works. And I also do illustration work, as you can see. Just want to say, brief apology. I was going to have drawing footage in the background for this entire video, but that entire video got corrupted. So instead, I'm just gonna throw in footage of me playing a game instead. I'm just gonna be showing artwork throughout the entirety of the video, so it's not just a gaming video. It'll be art related. So yeah, this is going to be an intro video, and it'll be an intro video with a theme attached to it, and that theme is vulnerability. I'll mostly be talking about vulnerability in the context of creating art, creating manga, creating webtoons, but it'll also apply to, things in a general sense too. To some people, this topic, it'll be maybe common sense, but I think there's some people out there who need to hear this. Maybe someone like me in the past. It's something that I've struggled with uh, for years, whether I knew it or not at the time. And I'm just here talking about what I've learned about it, why it's important, that kind of thing. As some of you probably already know, I uploaded a Blood White one shot last year in November, and the main theme of that story was vulnerability and what risk being, internally vulnerable with the wrong person leads to, and why it's so scary. And a quick spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read it and wants to. But, our main character, Mavi, she was always on guard, and she's hesitant to speak to and become close to anybody besides her friend and roommate, Ina. But she does know that she wants to change, she needs to change, and she decides to open up with her relatively new friend named Mumu. And they've only known each other for a few months. And Mavi is also somebody who's not very well liked among her community. Other demons don't really think very highly of her. So she doesn't really associate with them. So it's very easy for her to remain in this kind of shell and not really grow. So, throughout the story, she does decide to open up to Mumu. You know, take her home to have dinner with Ina, and the three of them, have a decent time, whatever. But obviously, and here's the big spoiler, if you haven't read it, but once she started to finally make progress, she gets stabbed in the back, setting her back to square one. Being vulnerable led to her demise. And anyone who's been through something like what she's gone through knows how hard it is to open up after something like that. And it could be a number of different similar situations, like, maybe you were in a group of friends where you couldn't really speak your mind with and be honest, or maybe it was a relationship that you put your all into and it just didn't work out for whatever reason, or maybe parents that you can't open up to without being judged, or maybe it was all of the above. And when you're in a headspace where your personal vulnerability is lacking, it's very difficult to be yourself around other people. And as kind of what I'm mainly talking about here, online with people who are, potentially interested in your art, your manga, whatever you're making. And it's easy to fall into tropes or trends that you may or may not want to do, or you just omit from posting altogether. And being vulnerable is, it's obviously a risk, but there's also a aspect to it that is a reward, because it's very important to be vulnerable with your interests, what you align with, because that helps you find your brand, your voice, your uniqueness that makes your art, your manga unique from other people. The things that people gravitate towards on social media platforms is when they see something that they've never seen before. Those are the kind of things that take off. And, maybe someone gets lucky with some trendy reel thing that they do, or algorithm pull or whatever. But in the long run, being true to yourself is what's going to take you far. So let me ask you a very simple question. Who stands out on social media? The trendsetters or the trend followers? And like I said, the trend followers might get lucky, but, you know, typically the trendsetter, right? It's simple. Just create something that's unique to you. It'll take more time because it's not the status quo, but eventually enough people will catch on, and you will be offering something unique that a lot of people haven't really had the opportunity to get into. They haven't had the opportunity to enjoy yet. Like, it's new, it's fresh, and it's something new, exclusive to you that you're bringing to the world, right? And I just want to say there's nothing wrong with having fun doing the trendy stuff, but if you're not interested in them, then don't force yourself to do them. They're just for fun most of the time. And forcing yourself to do these things that don't align with you is just going to lead to you burning out. And burnout is something that I've experienced quite a lot in the last couple of years. So, to give you a little bit of personal background, social media posting, sharing my stuff online is not something that I really did or took interest in, participated in until like a few years ago. And I'm just learning a lot of this stuff now, but it's not something I enjoyed, but it's a very necessary skill if you're trying to promote something to impact the world, especially online, right? I didn't really spend as much time, posting, sharing things on social media like a lot of my peers did in, say, middle school, high school. So I never really got comfortable with sharing parts of myself publicly. I never really did that. And that held me back. And that's why it's so important that to learn to, be yourself publicly, being vulnerable. Keep forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do, that don't align with you. Well, forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do, it can be a good thing. Forces you to get out of your comfort zone. But I'm talking about things that don't really align with your personal conduct, things that you're not really interested in, things that just make you feel really uneasy. Like, why am I doing this? What is this doing good for me? If you keep doing that stuff, you're just going to get burnt out. And I'm guilty of it. A lot of it was just me experimenting, finding out what worked for me, what I was interested in, how I wanted to portray myself. And by doing that, I figured out, I guess, my identity. In some ways, I'm still figuring it out. But there comes a point where you're kind of stuck doing things a certain way, and you want to branch out. You want to kind of cut certain things, maybe even people that you're associated with who don't really align with you anymore. You need to put your foot down and say, hey, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm about. And, be yourself, be vulnerable, post what you want to post, share what you want to share, make what you want to make. That's the deal here. Vulnerability is not just about, being yourself and sharing all that fun stuff either. It's also about networking and making connections with people who have the same interests as you, right? And I have a friend in a mutual on Instagram. He made a post that explains everything perfectly. Basically everything about like the connection, personal connection side of things I'll put it on the screen. You can pause it and read it if you want. But yeah, vulnerability is kind of a quality, I would say, that you need in order to succeed being happy with what you're doing. Just one final note about, this whole vulnerability thing. This isn't really an instructional video. It's just me talking about what I've learned, because being vulnerable is something that I'm still learning how to do. It's not been something that's been easy for me, which is part of why I'm making this video, is to work on that. So I'm just here to talk about what I've learned so far. Case in point, I debated on showing my face in this video. I'm not quite there yet. I may or may not do it later. We'll see. But yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the main topic of this intro video out of the way. But since this is an intro video, I'll go over some quick things, like what I'm going to be doing with the channel. Obviously, I made, well, maybe not obviously, but I made like time-lapse videos of my drawings like 2 years ago. Figured out pretty quickly that's not really one of what I do. So here I am, I'm just going to be making videos about anything that I feel like making a video about. I have no intentions of being a quote-unquote YouTuber. I'm primarily a manga, webtoon, illustrator, artist, and writer. This is not going to be my main thing. I'm just going to be making stuff here and there. And I might be making videos a bit more often here in the beginning because I have a lot of ideas that I want to do. But I'll just be discussing topics that I feel like maybe aren't discussed enough, and maybe something I have a strong opinion on, whatever it is. But yeah, if it's maybe a broad topic, I'll probably just have maybe gaming footage in the background like today, but most of the time I'll probably just be having recordings of me drawing, stuff like that, because that's what I love to do. Some video ideas I have, thinking of doing one about drama in the art manga community space and how stupid and pointless it is. Another video I might do one on social media. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Coloring tutorial. I know that's one a lot of people want to see, so that might be my next one. Sketchbook tours. This is not one I'm particularly fond of doing, but I do think it would be pretty funny. But I would be cringing throughout the entire thing. But you guys would probably find it entertaining, so we'll see. If you have any comments or suggestions for videos, put them down. I'm all ears. And that's pretty much the intro to whatever I end up posting here. So, yeah, dislike and unsubscribe. Thank you for watching.